Hello, you speakers. I'm George.
And I'm Javier.
All right, guys. Today we're going to debunk myths. Today we'll be the Mythbusters for language learning.
And that's right, George. And can I be that guy with the funny mustache? I want to do that.
You sure you want to be him?
No, I'll just keep it to myself. Okay, but today we have a special request. Not special request because people have been asking us these questions a lot in either when we meet people in the language classrooms, when we do assessments. So we're gonna put this to the end finally.
I know.
So stay tuned. Today we'll be debunking language learning myths. Welcome to another episode of the Üspk English podcast. And today we are little kids unattended because Kat's is still not here. So we are the wannabe podcast.
Katsa, come back soon.
Yeah, we don't know what we're doing. Please come back. So
thank you for hitting Don't hate us for this, Katsa.
Thank you for hitting that play button and subscribing to our podcast channel. Remember, you can download the script for this podcast. The link is in the description box below. So, right. George, okay, question number 1 of the debunking episode for today. Is it true? Really true that you can learn English in 3 months?
Well, that depends. How much English are you talking about? I think that's the main thing, I think when people ask the question, learn English, I think it's what the majority think is being completely fluent and communicate very effectively. Of course not. Of course not. Yeah, no way. I mean, this is not possible, okay? There might be some geniuses out there, some special cases, that they study 12 hours a day and they're able to do it in 3 months. But that's it. That's all they do. 12 hours a day, and but not even at not even at a proficient level. So yeah, I mean, you could learn some basics in 3 months, personal information, talking about your routines in 3 months, but at a basic level. Javier, now that you mentioned that, there is a study. It's by the University of Cambridge, and the question was, how long does it take for a Spanish-speaking person, specifically in Mexico and South America, for them to learn English at a good level? Let's say a B2, proficient. Okay, well, and based on a survey, okay, they came up with this information, okay, with this answer. The conditionals were the following. 1, if you have the following resources. 1, okay, electricity. Yes, you might be surprised. Some people do not have access to that.
Okay.
All right. Time to study. 3, possibly material to study English, a book, and even a teacher. Okay. Somebody to be able to speak English at a proficient level needs to be, now listen to this, the verb here, needs to be exposed to anywhere between 700 to 1,000 hours for them to be proficient at a language.
And that's just input, okay? Input.
Yeah, input. That means that, podcast, music, TV, obviously the conversation club, book, as many hours as you can. That's going to help you a lot. Okay. It's not just being in class, it's everything else. It's like I just mentioned, if you're able to watch, movies with closed captions, and listen to podcasts in English, live in English, basically.
I'm gonna clarify it probably a little bit more visual, because one of my students told me, "Hey, teacher, I heard a radio commercial that says learn English like if you were a 5-year-old kid in the United States." And they said, "Well, I have nephews that come by from the United States every now and then, and they seem to be pretty fluent to me. Why can't I be that way?" And it's all about what we call a can-do list. What can they do? I mean, can a kid talk about themselves? Yes, I like the color blue. Apples are my favorite fruit, etc., etc. But could a 5-year-old kid order food in a restaurant? Could a 5-year-old kid make a hotel reservation? You get what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
Yes. If it's like very down, like George said, to the very basics, might in 3 months. It depends on the input.
Oh, 3 months debunked. So be careful out there, whoever, those cowboy schools that learn English in 3 months, and all you have to do is come to class once a week. Okay, that's a red flag, guys. You got to run away from that.
Exactly. All right.
Okay, next question. All right, Javier. You're an expert in this, and some people you've met them, people that they've come from other schools and they mentioned this. Oh, they only teach me grammar. Okay. Can a person learn English just through grammar?
Very interesting question. You know why? Because when I started teaching, like, over 20 years ago, the most popular teaching method is what we call the audiolingual approach. Back in the old days, and it was heavily based on grammar. And there's a debunking aspect of the audiolingual approach because it was so successful back in the 1940s. You know why? Because they said, you know what, George, you're an American, and we're gonna teach you German, and whether you learn or not, we're gonna drop you from a plane in Germany in 3 months. So everybody learned pretty quickly.
Well, yeah,
you're gonna be like
your
really
life was at
motivated to
risk.
learn German in the
life was
3
at
months.
stake there.
So well, that method became very popular because of that, and it was heavily reliant on grammar. If you remember that, when you and I started together. However, but throughout the 80s, there was an aspect of like, okay, all the grammar, but it's very hard to put it all together. You know what I mean? Think of it like a boxer. You know how to work the speed bag. You know how to work that double-ended bag. But then when you gotta learn to what? Spar. You gotta spar. That means this method relies a lot on conversation. You really, really need a conversation class if you have more of a grammatical approach. If you don't, you'll never get that fluency. It just doesn't work. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
So question number 2.
Well, hold on. Now that you mentioned that, Javier, about sparring, because I don't know if everybody's by the way, everybody out there, Javier is a fan. He's a fan of boxing. So
boxing and martial arts.
You guys want to learn anything that has to do with boxing history and techniques, and Javier's the man. You got to go with him, and he'll teach you anything that's got to do with boxing. But anyway, for as another example about grammar, you know what I always compared it with, Javier? With music. Somebody, if a person can study music, that means the notes, and read a book about music, and can even be an expert in music. But if that person has never ever touched a musical instrument, picked it up and played it, be it a computer, a violin, a guitar, whatnot. So that, that person will not be able to play a musical instrument, despite the fact of being an expert in music. Yeah. So it's the same thing. These are skills. So you need to practice a skill to become proficient at it. Yeah.
Whether you learn the key, the notes, and what their names are, and the technical names, pizzicato, allegro, all of that stuff. Yep, practice. Okay, another question. George, is there an age limit to learn English?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question.
I'm guessing that the question is, are you too old? Because in terms of young, well, you got to almost learn.
Are you too old to learn a language? I don't think so. Look, as long as you're lucid, so even if you're 90 years old, if a person is lucid in his or her mother tongue, I think it's even beneficial for that person to learn a second language, because it helps them in their memory. Just as an anecdote, through my lifetime as a teacher, I've had students that were 90 years old. One of them, he was, at the time that I started teaching him, he was in his 90s, and believe it or not, Javier, he was running a company. He was running a company. He was a director. He was a CEO and the owner of the company. And I remember he was, sitting in this big office, enormous desk, and he had two accountants, next to him, as
Wow.
assistants, and what shocked me, and I can never forget this, he would do some calculations, taxes, with a notebook and a pencil, while his accountants had those. I don't know if you remember those calculators they used to have back then.
That,
Those
yeah, yeah, those.
those big calculators. They were
Yeah,
punching in the numbers,
yeah.
and he would be faster than they were.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So he took classes for around 6 months, and then he stopped, not because he wasn't learning, because of his time. He didn't have time to
I
take
love
class and all that. So I was very impressed. This debunks the myth. If somebody's too old to learn a language, you're not too old to learn any language, or anything for that matter.
That's amazing. But it's people like that actually make it through, because it's more about discipline, isn't it? Because a lot of people say like, well, I'm not motivated to learn. Well, you probably won't be motivated all your life. There's got to be something that makes you go, or you're disciplined enough to keep it going.
Or you know what? I think there's an internal switch when people start saying, I'm too old for this, I'm too old for that. Oh no, that's it. I'm 65. I'm going to retire. I think that is so dangerous, Javier. You know why? Because your brain is telling your body, that's it. It's time to go. It's switch off and stop the engines. You're switching off everything in your body, and that's it. It's time to go. Your body starts dying.
Wow, yeah, that is true. I did read once that learning another language really helps to minimize the chances of developing Alzheimer. And we actually have a student that has been with us a good long while. He's a doctor. He's a retired doctor, and he's learning English for that particular purpose, believe it or not. So he works out his body, works out every day, and works out his mind.
Oh yeah, that guy. I know who you're talking about. He's over 60 years old, but Jesus, he looks fit and healthier, even more than us. I mean, at least more than me. The guy looks young. The guy's
I think he's 68 now.
Yeah, he's 68. Imagine that. Yeah. I'd like to be like he is right now, and
totally.
I'm not at 68. I'd like to, be as fit as he is. Wow. Yeah. He knows who we're talking about. We just can't say his name, but
because we don't have his permission.
He lives in Colima.
Yes, and he's a retired doctor, so this guy loves to learn, and he wants to keep it going. So
okay. All right. Next question, Javier.
Next question is,
okay, here it goes. Let's check it out. Does brain gym work? First, I think, some people might not know what brain gym is. So you might want to tell, people out there what brain gym is.
I'm going to do my best.
Some schools love to use this as a marketing trickery. Exactly. And number two, does it work?
It's a good question. First, we'll have to explain through this podcast what brain gym actually is. If you guys are watching us through YouTube, it's going to be a lot easier. So try to, like, for example, tap your head and rub your belly at the same time. Okay, can you do that? Okay, can you stick your leg out and do a circle in one direction, and then write your name with your fingers in the other direction? Yeah, it's very difficult,
tapping my head and rubbing my tummy.
That one's like that. Okay. But move your leg in a circle. Yeah. And then try to write your name in the air. Like George. Can you do that? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's brain gym. Okay. The idea here behind brain gym is that by moving both hemispheres of your body, you're stimulating both sides of your brain, the creative side and the critical side. And this preps you preps your brain in order to be more receptive to language learning. Now, what's the debunking with this? Not debunking, but there is a caveat. Okay. Now, if you notice, George, you had a difficult time doing the leg circle and writing your name, right?
Yes, I did.
You didn't have a problem with rubbing your belly and tapping your head at the same time, because you might have done
not so much.
Not so much. You might have done that before to a point where you got it down pat. Once you got it pat, the brain gym, you can do it and it's not difficult. Well, there's no more brain gym there. You got to find new movements,
new movements
to challenge your brain and your body at the same time. So No, you can find there a lot of brain gym exercises
Oh.
in any YouTube channel or now.
So what does this have to do with language learning?
It preps your brain. Okay, the theory behind it, because it's very hard to prove, here is that it preps your brain to be perceptive on both sides of the hemisphere of your brain.
Mhm.
That's all it is. Now, it all depends a lot on you. It depends. Do you believe in it? Do you think it helps you? I have heard people that they like it. It relaxes them. I have heard people say, you know what? I came here to learn English, not to do this, this theatrics. Depends
Uh-huh.
on you. Yeah, there's a lot of things out there for language learning, and this is probably the only one where I'm going to go 50-50 on that. There is a belief that if the teacher believes in it, it will work. So if the student believes in it too, it will work.
So if you believe in it, it will work.
It will work. Yes, it
Oh.
will open up your mind, and I think not only psychologically, but in a personal way, you say, well, this is prepping me to learn. And
Mhm.
that way your mind is getting prepared to be perceptive, to say, I am here ready to learn, and
Yeah.
not just focus on like, wait, I gotta pay rent. Why? I wonder, am I getting old? Is this gray hair too much? You're not actually, you're actually focused on learning right here, right now.
Wow. All right,
Get it?
Javier.
Yeah.
Thanks. Thanks.
Okay. So
Thanks.
speaking of that, George, in your opinion, because this is a question too, debunking, what is the best method? Because every school says we have the best method to teach English. You will learn with our method.
Yeah.
Which is the best
The
one?
funny thing about that, Javier, is that some schools and even some students, and I don't blame students, but some schools sell a book as a method. So
Yeah.
they're using a book, any book that they would be using. I don't want to say names of book, but any book,
Yeah. Any
and
book.
then
The
they'll
book is
show
not the
them the
method.
book, and this is the method. But
No.
a book is not a method. Okay, so
Okay.
just to clarify that, so be
Exactly.
careful. A book is not a method. All right, a book is a book with some activities, probably inclined with certain
With certain
strategies and methodologies,
methodology.
but not a method. Okay,
Exactly. With
all
a
right.
certain philosophical methodology in
Yeah.
mind.
Yeah.
But
So there are
but
different
not the
methods, perhaps, the audience doesn't know about methodologies and they're not expected to learn. I mean, to know
No,
these
I
methods,
think it would
but
be relevant to mention all of them right here,
yeah,
right now,
there's
because
some. The most
maybe
popular
some other
ones
podcasts we
are,
will mention them.
the most popular ones are, the direct method. Then we have the communicative language teaching, CLT, that was very popular in the 80s and part of 90s. And then there was a time where
Justopedia.
the creator of this communicative language teaching came to say, well, it wasn't that. I mean, I think I went too far with that. So I heard him say that. Like, I
Exactly.
think we do need to go back a little bit to the, 3 Ps. There's the 3 Ps, the 3 Ps, which is presentation, practice, and production. There
Exactly.
is also the other one that's the task project,
Exactly.
based learning.
Community language task. Sorry, it's task-based learning, like you said. You said
Yeah,
it right.
task, project, inquiry-based learning, because we have
Exactly.
project or inquiry-based learning.
Exactly.
And we have the TPR, which is the total physical
Physical
response. You
response.
use your
Right.
body a lot. Okay,
Okay.
now to answer that question, Javier, and if people who ask that, there's no best method.
No.
The best method is I would call it an eclectic approach.
Yep.
And an
Which is what we
eclectic
do
approach,
anyway.
yeah, which is a combination of strategies and techniques from each methodology. So you would have to know, number one, which one you as a teacher like the best. You identify the best with, okay, and that you believe in it, and also something that is also practical for your students. You
Exactly.
cannot force a method on a student. So if it's not working for that student, you have to find different strategies from the different methods that can work for that student. So a combination of strategies from the different methods, I think, is the best one. And that's why you have to be knowledgeable as an expert, as a teacher, to understand what is going to work best for your students.
I think there's a key word, George, knowledgeable. I mean, I know the audience is gonna hate me, but I'm gonna use a martial arts analogy. So if the same question could be applied to which is the best martial arts for self-defense. So if you look at MMA or UFC, whatever you want to call it, those guys know about 8 different kinds of martial arts before they get into a cage. So they use a little bit of all what they got, and they know. There is no, if you just want to be a grappler, well, some boxer's gonna hit you in the head before you actually get to him. So you might want to look into a school or a teacher, if you want to pay a private teacher that knows a lot about different types of methodology, as opposed to just one. Because if that one method works for you, great. But if it doesn't, that teacher's not gonna be flexible enough to meet your needs.
Yeah, it's and Javier, it's sometimes not even the teacher's fault, because some schools, especially the big ones, they just have to follow what the book says, and if they go out of character or out of the script,
exactly, yeah,
teachers get in trouble. Mr. Sabaleta, I'd like to have a word with you. Yes, why? Why did you use that technique, or why did you do that activity? It's not part of the plan,
Exactly.
We do have to meet a deadline, and that's going to set us back a day. What are you going to do, Mr. Sabaleta?
Yeah.
Get on the ball. Get on the ball, Mr. Sabaleta. So
here's the hard
not
part.
Even sometimes the teacher's fault. It's for some schools, it's a business, and they just have to do. Teachers just have to follow what the book says, and this is exercise 1, exercise 2, and
cover all the exercises,
sensitive,
right?
yeah, and students are like, but I didn't understand. What were we supposed to do? I don't know. Let's go on. And some students will just play along and say, well, I just don't want to say I don't know, because I'll look stupid, think I'm stupid. Let's just continue. And that's how it is.
Okay, so look, my favorite one is that we have actually worked in schools where they're using that direct approach, where it's like no Spanish at all. Okay, so instead of my asking something like, what is nevertheless? And you spend, I'm not kidding, 20 minutes explaining nevertheless. And you could just, what if I just translate it? What if I just give you the translation and we save 20 minutes? Wouldn't that be great?
It's unacceptable, Mr. Sabaleta.
No, well, nevertheless, it's kind of a connector that reflects an opposition of idea. No, just sin embargo. That's it.
You know
that's
what,
it.
Javier? Even if they try to use it right now, they're not going to go for it. They can just Google it. Even if the teacher's like, and the teacher's going to, like, "Hi, teacher, sin embargo." Oh, you destroyed all my effort.
Oh no, there goes my lesson plan and my methodology.
Yeah, I'm going to get in trouble with the supervisor.
Okay, here's another one that at school, that's a common methodology that is used a lot in a school here in Guadalajara. They don't let you read anything at the beginning. They don't let you write down anything. It's part of the method. I have actually taken German.
Does that school begin with the letter Q?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
And it has another word that begins with the letter L.
And it ends in ing. Okay, I'm gonna go. No names.
And the logo is a little family walking together, like in a sunset.
Something like that. Okay.
Yeah,
so I have tried.
I think I know what school you're talking about.
I have tried to teach myself German, okay, through videos and everything, and I have the need to write it down. Otherwise, I'll forget it. And I have actually tried it with that. Just listen to it, repeat it, and try to remember it. It won't work for me.
You should have tried Brain Gym, man.
I know, but the Germans don't play that. So you get the idea, okay? Something just works for you, and something just doesn't work for you. Try it out, and if it doesn't, don't waste your time or money there. Just go somewhere else.
All right. All right.
Okay.
Another question I have for you, Javier.
Yeah.
Is how fast could I learn English if I move to the USA, United States of America, or an English-speaking country?
It all depends on your need and your input. Now, if you move to California, everybody speaks Spanish. Number one. Number two, it would probably be a little easier now that we have apps and dictionaries on your phone. But even then, we're talking about what you can say and what you actually mean. Do you see what I mean? So if I say, "Hey, George, what's up?" and you Google what's up, it might say, "Que está arriba?" And okay, I don't get that. What does that mean? Yeah, so you actually need some coaching. It does help the fact that you're in a place where everybody speaks English and you're kind of like subject to it, because if you go to work, you're going to buy something, but it all depends on how far you want to take it, because there is the possibility that you will learn very basic English, but that it becomes fossilized. It becomes that it doesn't grow any more than basic, and then you're stuck there.
Yeah, it depends
And
on the
that's not good.
community that you hang out with and where you're in,
Exactly.
where you're at. I've known people, Javier, in the United States that have been there for years, Javier,
have
and they
family.
don't speak English.
Nope.
How do you survive?
Just
Well, I speak
basic.
Spanish with my family. My coworkers speak Spanish. I go to Spanish-speaking stores and supermarkets. It's basically a Spanish community, so no wonder you don't speak the language. There are other cases where even if they don't want to learn English, they have to, because it's only English-speaking people, only Americans that don't speak Spanish, and they'll learn fast. You know, if somebody wants to know how long it would take in that condition, okay, if I move to a place where nobody speaks Spanish and I need to speak English, I think they would be at a very good level, anywhere between 9 months and a year. They will be really good at English by then.
Think of it this way, okay, George. If you move to China for 3 months, what sort of Chinese are you going to pick up? You're probably going to pick up how to ask for things.
You're probably going to pick up a Chinese translator, that's for sure.
For sure. You're going to pick up like asking for directions, very basic stuff. You're probably not going to pick up on conversational, because you probably don't want to risk too much, right? You know what I mean? Okay, yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, as it is, Chinese is probably going to be pretty hard. So I'll pick up on hello, and my name is, and where's the bathroom, or how much for this, and that's it. That's pretty much as far as I'm going to take it.
Yeah. Well, Javier, thanks a lot for this and everybody out there. So that's all for today. And a big thank you to everyone who tuned in. If you enjoyed this podcast, please consider subscribing to our channel and sharing with your friends. Really share with your friends, okay? We also have a YouTube channel where you can find the videos, the video version of this podcast. We would love to hear your thoughts. Hopefully they're good thoughts. So feel free to leave a comment on our videos. Additionally, we have a website where you can find articles about practicing and learning English. You can find us in social media under @USPK English, which is the one with the yellow logo, okay? We are active on all platforms except Twitter and Threads for now. So, Javier, remember,
perfect practice
makes perfect. So until next time, all right, hopefully Casa will be here next time. Thank you, everybody.
Got to come back. You can blame it all on me. And George.